My fellow comic book collectors, this video is going to be my top 5 list of the channels that I watch the most. It's not necessarily the best channels, but it's the channels that I like the most maybe, and ones that I find myself frequently watching on YouTube. So I hope you enjoyed this list. I think if you haven't subscribed to these channels, I recommend that you do subscribe to these channels. They're all excellent in terms of the content they provide. There's actually kind of a bonus extra channel on here. So it's almost the top 6 list, but it'll make sense when I show it. So without further ado, I'm going to show you my top 5 favorite channels on YouTube. So here's the first one. And he always refers to himself as the Reaper, and there's a comic association with that. It's Repertate 728. And if you watch his channel, it's in a way, his style is very similar to mine. Maybe that's why I like his channel so much, where it's just him showing comics and talking about the various comics. And he does a lot of like sort of like cerebral kind of talk about it, where he sort of says, hey, this is why, and he kind of thinks through the comics a bit. And he talks about, is this a good comic to spec on? He also shows a lot of his comic hauls. You can sort of see that within the content that he's showing here, that, like let's go through his videos a bit. You can see like he's showing his spotlight on Fantastic Four #5. He asks these kind of questions, which is better, raw or slab? Which do you prefer? And he asks these kind of questions, and he presents arguments for both sides, and he sort of shows what his opinion is and why, the reasoning behind it. And then he'll show some of the comics in his collection. He has a pretty impressive collection. Well, as you see, 5, he has the run of 1 to 20 of X-Men. He has a nice ASM 300. So, he has some pretty major comics in his collection that he shows in his videos. And it's just really great to watch his videos. And I find, it's kind of, I try to maybe emulate his style in a way, because it's the kind of style that I fit naturally into. And the comics that he shows, I think he does a very good explanation of why he bought those comics and what he's interested in. And I think that's very interesting to watch, seeing somebody that really loves what they're doing and why they're buying these comics. So a really good channel to watch. Now, the next one that I like is Regie Collects. Now, Regie Collects, this is my sort of 2-in-1 channel, because he also does the commentary for GoCollect. And I watch both of his channels very frequently. So what I'll find is his GoCollect one, he'll basically summarize articles that are appearing on GoCollect. And what you'll find is when he sort of talks about the stuff that's happening within GoCollect, you can sort of get a really good understanding of comics from that collector's, speculator's point of view. And he really does an excellent job of like explaining and kind of going through why certain comics are going up in price and why they may be good as a speculation. So I watch both channels, GoCollect and Regie Collect. On Regie Collects, he sort of gets a little bit more sophisticated with it. I find that he has a tendency of like talking about these blue ocean, you'll see it here, blue ocean speculation comics, which are sort of these comics that are sort of ones that are, sort of out there that people might not be really thinking about, and that might be good ones to sort of pick up. So, he does these kind of things, and it's a very interesting thing to watch. He's, kind of one of the bigger channels. He has like 11,000 subs, which doesn't sound like as much as some of those major channels on YouTube, like with millions of subs. But within the comic industry, most of our channels are pretty small. It's a pretty niche hobby in a way. And, that's a pretty substantial number of followers. And it's just, the reason he has that substantial number of followers is he is putting out really good content. And I really enjoy his videos. So he puts in a few controversial ones in there. He mixes it up a bit. There's actually one more channel that I'm going to actually add. I'm going to actually add a 6th bonus channel at the very end of this video. So stay tuned for that. So next one on my list is Team CGC 9.8. And this guy is a fellow Canadian. So, hey, get a Canadian on the list. But he puts out a lot of content. He is like really popping out the content. I'm going to put links to all these channels in my description, so don't worry. If you miss any of these, I'm going to make sure you get the links below. But this guy's channel is really good. He really looks at just that pinnacle comic, that 9.8, and he looks at it from the purely financial almost perspective, where he says, okay, this is a really great comic, maybe a really good investment, and what comics should we be investing in? And he looks at it from that 9.8 level, which, a lot of us comic buyers are not buying 9.8s. So, it's sort of that higher end. His comics are generally, though, ones that you can get in on still, even if you're not buying the 9.8s. And so I look at his channel in that perspective, that maybe I won't buy that 9.8 because it's like $2,000, but maybe I'll get a 9.6 or 9.4 version of it, which is more affordable. So his comics generally are more the modern age, I would say bronze to modern age comics. And, he gives lots of good advice about comics that he's invested in and that his followers have told him that are good investments. So some really good video content on his channel. The next one is kind of a different style altogether than all the other channel mentioning in this video, but it's one that's worthy of being on this list. And it's actually the most popular of all the channels, so maybe these other channels should really learn something from this one. It's Casually Comics. Casually Comics is excellent channel. She does like a breakdown. I'll show you some of her videos. She does a breakdown of the stories. She's always wearing different hair. Like she's always wearing different wigs, but she'll break down the stories and the different characters and really give the historical explanation of their arc. And it's just really cool to learn about like all these connections. So what I always find is like, I might really like a character like Catwoman or the Joker or Wonder Woman or some, major character. But then when she does the breakdown, you find out where did they get these origins from and who are the other characters that had a major influence on them. So you can learn a lot about the characters, and you learn, like, I'm a kind of a collector who likes to buy all those different speculations or connections, I should say. But it's so I find her channel really gives me insight. Oh, maybe I should pick up that comic, or maybe I should read that comic, and it's just really interesting. I find that I'm so much more informed about the characters and their motivations and why they are the way that they are, and it's just really cool. Her content is really great. She's very funny too, so I really enjoy her videos. So definitely a channel to subscribe to. One more that kind of goes without saying is Comic Tom. Comic Tom is sort of like the investor's main source for finding out which books to spec on, I guess. Comic Tom, his main videos are really the same every week. He does the top 10 lists of hottest comics, top 10 lists of trending comics, top 10 lists of back issues. And he basically just talks about those comics, and you get to see what comics are trending and how are they, what's the speculation, what's the market doing for comics. And you really get a sense of what comics are going to be hot. Sometimes that's one of the risks with watching Comic Tom, that if you sometimes watch his videos Then you go to eBay or something like that, and you see that just after his video is released, it's like all the comics that he mentioned are spiking. Like it's kind of crazy. So I find his channel does actually influence the market a bit, and you'll get that kind of like surge in prices. But he will sometimes like kind of hint at cool gems that you can pick up and still at a reasonable price. And he says it sometimes himself that some of the books that he has on his lists are not worth specking on. They're not worth putting the money into. And I find that that's really refreshing, that he's not just saying, oh, these are the hot 10 comics, but these are the hot 10 comics, but you got to be a little bit careful about some of the ones on the list. So I like that about Tom. He's very honest. He's very enthusiastic about his stuff. It's just a really good channel to watch, and you should really check it out. Really good stuff in there. And, you can see that he does some funny stuff as well mixed in, where, he took a CGC case and dunked it in a fish tank. These are, the kind of funny things that he does mixed into these top 10 lists that he's doing. So really good channel. One more channel that I have to show, and I'm going to just have to pause the screen, pause it just for 1 sec, and I'll pick up. So I just had to pause the video for a sec. I just want to show you one last channel. So this is it was a top 5, then it became sort of top 6. Now it's a top 7. But it's just all these are the main channels that I watch. There's a bunch of other channels that I watch. I might do future videos where I say, hey, these are some notable honorable mentions, but this is definitely an honorable mention that Bueller, Comics with Bueller is definitely a great channel to watch. His stuff is, he kind of runs the gambit. He'll do his coffee show where he basically is with another guest, and they go through all the stuff that's going on in the week, and he'll go on with some major topic. But then he does all these other videos, like where he talks about top 50 comics worth $100 or more, and he'll, show you some hidden gems that you might not even realize that they're so valuable. And you can still pick a lot of those hidden gems up in the dollar bins. So, he really is one of those guys who that goes out there, searches those dollar bins and finds gold. And you get a lot of that sense from him, and you can get a lot of really great information from this guy. So really good comic channel. Things that I also watch on his channel is he'll sort of talk about books that are coming out. He'll get the guide of the books that are coming out next week, and he'll break down which ones are potentially good ones to pick up, put on your pull list. So really good channel. I definitely recommend it. I'm not subscribed with this user. I have my other user account, but I just subscribed just because he's so great. It's a great channel. Definitely one to check out. Definitely one you should check. You should check out all the ones that I mentioned on the list. I know it was a top 5 list, but really it's now a top 7. But I recommend subscribing to all these channels. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.